DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All-Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.
Hey folks, thanks for watching DocTalk today. We're going to talk about mud and cattle and cold temperatures and different things. What does it cause? What can we prevent, and how do we move forward here during some of these wintertime conditions? We'll see you after the break.
Stressors that trigger bovine respiratory disease are all around. So when you spot BRD in your herd, turn to Zuprevo, the fast that lasts. Zuprevo is rapidly absorbed in as little as 45 minutes and lasts up to 28 days. Because in the race against BRD, you need to win. Ready, set, Zuprevo. In case of human injection, seek immediate medical advice. For use in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle only. For prescribing information, talk to your veterinarian or visit Zuprevo.com.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. I'm a veterinarian and owner and manager of Production Animal Consultation. I also have a 50% appointment at Iowa State University, and it's just a blessing to be here today. We've been doing DocTalk. Hard to believe this is the 13th season on RFD, and it's because we have viewers and sponsors, and it's just been a lot of fun, and we're signed up for a couple more years, so you're stuck with us. Anyway, today we're going to talk about something that being raised in Southwest Iowa as a kid, and now that muck boots are back in style, having our muck boots pulled off our feet while you're trying to get across a lot or trying to get out and get chores done is something that we live with. And depending on where you live and what kind of winter, you know, it's so much better when it gets cold, stays cold, and freezes off. But now we get into these cycling periods of mud, or if you live on that line where you just kind of live in mud all winter, you know what we're talking about. But this is a huge robber of our cattle. It'll decrease performance. It decreases intake. So we'll talk more about increasing the maintenance requirement of cattle and while diminishing their intake, causing a double whammy on performance. It also will increase the propensity for foot rot and hairy heel wart and some of the different things that we battle because now we have a different environment. Some of the other things that I don't think we stress enough is the impact of cold stress on cattle, especially in the fall or in the early winter when we get calves in. To help a kitten or a puppy or a calf, any kind of an infant or child, is keeping them warm and keeping them hydrated. And battling some of these viral pathogens when we commingle, keeping cattle warm and giving them that bedding and that place to lay down is vitally important. Conversely, mud in the summertime will contribute to increased heat stress because we will make increased humidity at that microclimate where the cattle, where they lay down, where they're living. And so mud can help increase cold stress, and it can also be detrimental when we increase heat stress. Another one is food safety and animal welfare. It's hard for us to, we can see the animal welfare, right? When the cattle are coming through the mud and you know, you're not having a place to lay down or something to that nature. But food safety is something that's probably overlooked because what happens is the cattle carry the mud, which we know isn't just mud. And as they increase that on their coat and have that increased carriage into packing plants, it increases the opportunity for carcass contamination with E. coli or salmonella. And actually with HACCP, the first step of HACCP and food safety at a plant is to yell out the coat score, and that dictates then how fast the chain will move during slaughter. And then the last one that should never be overlooked when we talk about mud is just human safety. The ability to move with the cattle, the ability to get out of harm's way, the ability to not slip or fall, operating equipment, all of these things that we have to think about on a day-to-day basis. When we typically think about performance and health of our cattle, we need to be thinking about food safety, human safety, and so much more. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into some of the economics of mud, and then we're going to talk about some of the preventions and tools that we can use to help our cattle get through the winter. You're watching DocTalk, and we'll be right back.
Nasalgen 3 is a new 3-way intranasal BRD vaccine that offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, BRSV, and PI3. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose new Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only 5-way intranasal vaccine on the market. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
Time is money on the farm, and your cows are less productive when they're stressed. The Alertus on-farm test from IDEXX allows you to quickly test cowside and identify open or pregnant cows within minutes on your schedule in the parlor, barn, or chute. It's more efficient for your farm, very simple to use, and puts you in control. With minimal training and reliable, fast results, sample-based pregnancy testing is better for beef and dairy producers. Learn more at idexx.com/DocTalk.
Success in the cattle business hinges on a lot of different people playing their part. From the vet to the cowboy and the nutritionist to the feed truck driver, you rely on them to get their job done right, and so do your cattle. Your expectations for the vaccines you use should be no different. Bimeta's cattle vaccines were developed and are made and sold by men and women in the cattle business. No smoke and mirrors, just real-world protection that you can rely on. Go to bimetabiologicals.com to learn more.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and I have the pleasure of being 50% appointment at Iowa State University and 50% in private practice as an owner and veterinarian and production animal consultation. We have a lot of fun, work with a lot of good people, and it allows me the opportunity to bring some real world scenarios and opportunities to our students, but also allows us to keep our hands wet in veterinary practice, as that is a passion of mine. Now, we're talking about mud, and as we left, we're talking about, let's just start out about performance. And when we start to think about performance, the first thing that changes in a pen is their behavior. And so we have two things on performance that get changed with mud and cold. And that is, number one, we're going to increase the maintenance requirement of the animal. And the second one is we reduce the intake. So let's start with the latter. Why do we see a reduction in intake? The main reason why we see a reduction in intake because of mud is cattle are kind of like people. If it's hard to do, it's less likely to get done. And so if it's hard to get up and to walk through the pen to the feed bunk, they're probably going to decrease the number of trips to the feed bunk, which decrease the intakes. When you start to see cattle laying on the bunk apron or on the concrete and not finding places in the pen, that's an indication immediately that we probably have something going on with cattle comfort and cattle in that pen not coming to the bunk. And they'll get to a place where they're comfortable, they'll bed down, and they won't come to the water or come to the feed bunk. So maintaining pen surfaces, maintaining clean bunk pads is vital to intakes. And for every quarter of a pound of intake decrease, we will increase our cost of gain 1%. And so when we see estimates of intakes being decreased 15% and cattle are consuming 22 pounds, that means we're going to have decreased intakes of 3 pounds, indicating an increase in our cost of gain of 13%, 12 to 13%, just because of the diminished intake. Now, let's couple that with the increased maintenance requirement. As the ambient temperature drops, maintenance goes up to keep the body warm. The more energy they have to burn walking through the mud, the more that goes to maintaining the animal. So our maintenance requirement of these cattle actually goes up. And as we increase mud depth, maintenance requirement goes up. And as we decrease ambient temperature outside in the pen, going from say an average of 36 degrees to 16 degrees, maintenance goes up again. So as maintenance ratchets up, the cost of gain goes up because we have more feed energy going to maintaining the animal and less of that energy that they consume, which we've already talked about having decreased intakes, going to less of that intake is going to growth on a percentage basis. When we have 6 inches of mud in the pen, compared to pristine feeding conditions, if we go from no mud in the pen to 6 inches of mud at 36 degrees on average temperature, we're going to increase our cost of gain 16 to 17%. If we get the temperatures in the 16s, down into the 16s with 6 inches of mud, you're going to increase your cost of gain 74%. With today's cost of gains at $1.40, that is equivalent of going from $1.40 to $2.45, almost an increase of $1 in cost of gain per pound gained. That's not per head per day, that's per pound gain. So if they gain 3 pounds a day, there's an equivalent of a loss just in maintenance requirements due to mud and temperature of $3 per day, plus our decreased intakes. This is significant money. Keeping your pens clean, keeping the mud levels low, and is vital to performance and profitability in feeding cattle in the winter. We'll be right back.
When it comes to treating BRD, you want a product that you can count on to get the job done at an affordable price. Macrocin by Bimeda delivers on both. A straight shooting, no BS tulathromycin that does what it's supposed to do. End of story. You don't need to take our word for it though. Go to macrocin.com for customer testimonials and head-to-head trial results. For your cattle and your bottom line, choose Macrocin.
Dr. Nels here, folks. We're super excited about this book on hiring. Have you made a bad hire? Have you hired someone you wish you wouldn't have? Are you looking to hire? It's a great short read on helping you in the hiring process. You can find it on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, or find it at drnels.com. Check it out there. We'd love to see you there.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and appreciate y'all tuning in and watching the show. I'm a professor at Iowa State, 50% appointment, and I also owner-manager of a veterinary practice, production animal consultation, and have some great partners and great veterinarians that I get to work with every day, providing service to feed yards all across the U.S. As we left, we've been talking about mud, and we've been talking about mud and cold. And as we've talked before, there's 2 reasons why animals get sick: a suppressed immune system or an overwhelming load of a pathogen. And when we talk about mud and cold, we're talking about suppressing that immune system. I can't stress enough that keeping these animals dry, keeping these animals up in best cattle comfort as we can, helps with the immune system. We see some issues with increased mud, increased cold, in just typical things that we would normally see as cycling temperatures. As we depress that immune system, things start to bubble out, more respiratory disease. That's really the biggest one that we will see, especially with calves trying to acclimate. And we're doing everything we can, from bedding to feeding those calves some hay at night, and different things of that nature to help keep them warm just from some of the temperatures. Some of the bigger issues, though, that we see in the wintertime are foot rot and hairy heel wart. And foot rot on the outside pins, hairy heel wart and foot rot on the inside pins. But really, foot rot raises its ugly head in the winter. And so foot rot is caused by Fusobacterium necrophorum. And Fusobacterium necrophorum causes three things in cattle. It causes diphtheria in the throat, it causes liver abscesses, and it causes foot rot. It is in the GI tract, it is shed in the feces, it winds up in the pens. Why do we get foot rot in the winter? Well, we have pen conditions where the calf is standing in mud that comes up between the toes. And the interdigital space between the toes is skin. And if you've ever been in the bathtub too long, or in the swimming pool or in the pond, and you get out and your fingers are wrinkly and the skin is soft, that's what happens to a calf's foot when it's in the mud for extended period of time. We don't just see this in the summer or in the winter. We'll also see it in the summer when we don't have enough shade and cattle constantly stand in a place where there's urine and defecation in a concentrated area. We'll see it when we have fly strike and cattle go stand in the pond too long. But what happens is, whatever the cause, whether it's mud, water, whatever, that softens that skin between the toes, when the animal comes up to eat, and let's say that we have ice chunks or things that can cause abrasions, we'll get abrasions between those toes, whether it's old dried cow tracks or ice, but we get the abrasions, which opens that skin up and allows the Fusobacterium that's in the environment then to penetrate and colonize, causing that foot rot. And so, when we talk to feedlot managers and we talk to nutritionists and veterinarians and feed yards, and we ask, and dairies, and we ask, what's the number one risk factor for foot rot? It's pen conditions, and the second one is always what time of the year it is. And so as we see this and as we manage mud, foot rot is important. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about some things that you can do to help your cattle get through this. You're watching DocTalk, and we're glad you joined us.
It's the drive, the passion, the unbridled desire to be the world's greatest. It's the early mornings, late nights, and every hour in between spent grooming the next generation of champions. We're with you through the best times and the tough times. Seeing your horses through inevitable health scares and setbacks you never saw coming. Everything they deserve is here, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
I'm Dr. Les Anderson. I'm a beef extension specialist at the University of Kentucky. The Alertus on-farm test has the opportunity to completely change the industry. A producer is enabled and empowered to be able to take the sample and run the test or tests at their leisure without scheduling anybody. And honestly, reproduction is the thing that we measure the least, and it's the thing that dictates profitability the most. The Alertus on-farm test will help us to identify cows that get pregnant early. It'll improve our efficiency tenfold.
As a stocker operator, your job is to turn forage into profit. With the right implant, you can. Revlor G improves grazing performance for 150 days, the same length as the typical grazing period. And it's dosed for stockers' maturity levels, adding up to an extra 23 pounds. See why Revlor G is the #1 choice in stocker implants at RevlorG.com. A withdrawal period has not been established in pre-ruminating calves. Do not use in calves to be processed for veal.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet. and Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and we're talking mud. We're talking wintertime mud. And the first thing is that you have to kind of rank the pens based on risk of pen conditions deteriorating. And I can tell you that as cattle get bigger, they are harder on pens, and they will destroy the bottom of your pen more than the lighter weight calves. And so when I start to work with feed yards and we're talking risk management, we're first going to focus on pens. If we're feeding cull cows, they're terrible on pen conditions, and then the fat steers are next, and then as we move to lighter animals, not as detrimental to the pen floor condition falling apart. The next thing is where do you live? Do you live with a place with a lot of rainfall, or do you live in a place that's arid? The more arid the place is, the less pen space you have to provide the cattle. But the more rainfall or the more snow you get, you have to start expanding out to 350, 450 square foot per head to actually spread these cattle out and give more pen space to help maintain your pens in a better manner. Another thing that goes into how much pen space you provide is how much slope you have. As you have different grades of slope, as you increase slope, you can diminish the pen space requirement because the water runs out of the pen into the back, and we have an ability to move that water away. If you don't have slope, or if you have minor slope, two things that are great tools for managing mud with cattle. Besides moving, you have to get the mud out of the pen. I can't reiterate enough on pen maintenance. I know that diesel's expensive, but when we're talking about losing $2-3 per head per day to 6 inches of mud at 16 degrees Fahrenheit, when we don't have any bedding, it's pretty easy to calculate the break even. If you don't have enough equipment, partner with farmers in the area that maybe aren't doing anything during the winter to rent their equipment and have them run it, help you get caught up. But we want to build mounds within our pens, and the mounds, generally speaking, we start behind the water tank about 10 to 15 foot, and we'll have a gradual increase in height, and then we'll crown those mounds to come down towards the sides of the pen. And when we build those mounds in the pen, those cattle have a place to go and lay down. The water runs off of them. They're a drier place for them to lay down. We'll also bed cattle. We'll build bed packs out of straw and for the winter that's big enough area for all the cattle to come and lay down and bed down within that straw. And people are like, well, how much straw do I put out? I said, you'll know when you put out enough straw because of the moisture level within that straw. If you go and you put your Eric Lowe, a nutritionist in Northwest Iowa, if you put your knee on it and you come back and it's just automatically soaked, a little moisture is not bad. A wet bed pack is not a good thing. And so we have to constantly, if you put one bale of straw out and they poke it all down into the mud, you put two. I hear people say, well, I put a bale out, I put some bedding out. You have to put out enough that the cattle actually build the nest and that they can lay down and that they can provide comfort. Sometimes to get that initial bed, you may need to grind 2, 3, 4 big bales of straw or corn stalks or something to get that. And then you refresh that bed pack to make sure that it's dry and effective as the winter goes on. And then if they do deteriorate, we just got to clean them out and start over. So the big take-home items for wintertime conditions: know which cattle are in which pens, really focus on your finished cattle pens, rank them according to risk, make sure you provide enough pen space, work with your veterinarian to understand pen space requirements in your area to maximize, and that's going to be dependent on the slope of the pen and the amount of rainfall. Okay, as rainfall goes up, you need more pen space. As slope increases, you can decrease pen space based on the amount of rainfall that you get. The other 2-3 things, mounds and bedding. You got to remove the mud from the pens, and then after we remove the mud, you can use that mud to build mounds within your pens. And then if you don't build mounds, we need to bed down. Bedding is expensive, but bedding pays. we're trying to erase a $3 per head increase in cost of gain per day. We can afford to do this. Thanks for watching DocTalk. Remember, if you want to find us on the web, you can find us at www.doctalktv.com. Always work with your local veterinarian. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here in Ames, Iowa, and I'll see you down the road.
DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All-Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.
It's the drive, the passion, the unbridled desire to be the world's greatest. It's the early mornings, late nights, and every hour in between spent grooming the next generation of champions. We're with you through the best times and the tough times. Seeing your horses through inevitable health scares and setbacks you never saw coming. Everything they deserve is here, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.